Hi everybody. This video is specifically around the most common question that I get asked, and it is this: how many lessons will it take before I can do my driving test? Well, first of all, I'll never apologise for having high standards. My standards are high, and that's that. I won't budge from them. Some instructors may have lower standards. Some people that are helping you, mum, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, may have lower standards. I don't have low standards. I have high standards, and I don't apologise for that. In fact, I would hope that most people who have lessons off me or have had them in the past, like that about me. The fact my standards are so high, should reflect in how they are on the roads when they get their licence and they've been driving for a bit. But it's a question that people ask, and I can understand it totally. I can understand it because time's money, and they want to roughly know what it's going to cost them. But genuinely, I don't know what it'll take. I've had people take 15 hours up to 200 hours. People range from 17 years of age up to people in the 70s. Obviously, male and female people learning to drive. We have people from the UK, non-UK, some people with disabilities. Some people really confident, total naturals. Some people no confidence and not really naturals when it comes to driving a car. I tend to say to them this: the DVSA, so the Driver Vehicle Standards Agency, they're the guys that set the test, if you like. They tell us the average person in the UK takes 45 hours professional tuition, and that's factoring in they get 20 hours practice at home as well. So if you can get some practice in at home in between your lessons, that will help an awful lot. Even if you're not doing anything specific, just driving to the shops and back or the train station or something like that, all that practice will really, really, really help you. What you've got to remember: there's no minimum, there's no maximum. It takes as long as it takes. Embrace the process, enjoy the process. It's a life skill that you're learning. And there's a lot of people who get hurt and injured on the roads every single day, and the better you've been trained, I would like to think that will result in you having less issues on the roads in general, which has got to be a good thing. Often say to people when they're quizzing me on want to do the test, and we have this type of conversation, if I was to go and speak to one of their loved ones, their parents or something like that, and ask them what they would like that person to get out of the lessons, I bet you they'd just turn around and say, I just want him or her to be safe. So if that takes a bit longer than what you're expecting, then so be it. Just embrace it. It's still going to be for a short period of time in your life that you're learning to drive. And once it's done, it's done. The big thing you've got to focus on is your independent driving. Are you doing everything independently? And what I mean by everything is absolutely everything. Are you having lessons where your instructor can just sit there and tell you which direction to take, what manoeuvres to do? And has that happened a few times? Is that a regular occurrence? If it is, you're ready for your test. In my opinion, you can't hold somebody back. I would never try to, but you can't hold them back. If they're good enough, they're good enough. If they're doing enough in the car to warrant doing a test, they'll be able to tell themselves. I do get people wanting to push themselves for the test when they're not ready for it, and again, I understand that, but if you're not doing things independently, you're not doing your test. It's quite as simple as that, really. Nerves in general, or if you're a nervy person in general, that is going to mean you're going to take longer to learn to drive, because the roads can be quite a nerve-wracking place to be. So a lot can happen in short spaces of time, and that can overwhelm some people. So, if you are nervous by nature, it's going to probably take you a little bit longer. You can't rush somebody who's nervous. It's as simple as that. What I will often do is, with people right at the start of the lessons, I will drive them to a more suitable location to do the lessons from. So it might take 10-12 minutes to drive them to an area, and they get a lot more benefit than driving on that area, rather than just trying to get them to get hold of the controls outside their house where it's dead busy and there's loads of junctions and things that they haven't dealt with yet. and they then develop a get-through mentality. We don't want that. You want your lessons to be where you're learning something every single time. So don't be offended if your instructor's got to take you to an area, and get you on the roads, and might be specifically practicing one thing that area is really, really good at doing. I'll often get asked, why am I not driving from my house yet? And they're the reasons for it. It's not to hold you back. It's quite the opposite. It's to make sure that you're learning things. You can then apply those to the more busy, difficult situations. Now, I teach in an automatic. I've taught in a manual previously for about 4 years, and I now teach in an automatic. And a lot of people will come to an automatic to make things easier for themselves, and it certainly does make things a bit easier. It's not easy, but it's easier. But don't think just because it's an automatic you'll be able to jump in and do everything in it. Once you, this is a manual, if you were driving a manual car and you were to grips with the controls properly, there should be no difference between you driving a manual and somebody driving an automatic. I mean, the top 10 list of fails, there's nothing in there about clutch control, nothing in there about gears, so it says that they're not the most difficult things to do. But yeah, an auto maybe will just get you moving a bit sooner, and it could give you a bit more confidence as well. So don't discount going to an automatic if you're in a manual. But please don't expect just to get in an automatic and it's the easiest thing in the world. Without sounding like I'm, turning my nose up to people who just want to learn in an automatic, because I do teach in one. Most people who come to an automatic are kind of saying, I think I'm going to struggle with a manual or struggle with driving in general, so I'm in an automatic. So don't feel bad about it taking a bit longer than what you perceive it's going to take. Peer pressure is a massive issue when people are learning to drive. The pressure you get off another person can be quite harmful, actually. Recently I was teaching, recently it was last year, I was teaching a lady to drive, and her husband was giving her a terrible time in between lessons. They were going out in the family car and she was very, very nervous, not a natural when it comes to holding those nerves together in general, and certainly not a natural with the delicate control with feet and hands simultaneously that's required in a car. Now, he was thinking he was helping her out, but he was making the situation a lot worse. I had a chat with him in the end, not to have a go at him, but he asked me a couple of things, and I got into it a little bit more with him. And the reason he was doing this, his only reference point was of his driving lessons, or him learning to drive 40 years earlier, when the roads were a lot different to what they are now. There's a lot less going on. Attitudes were not as bad on the road, and it was a damn sight easier to learn to drive back then than it is now. The standards are a lot higher and the roads are a lot more difficult. A good thing to say to those people is, do you think you would pass your driving test now if you were to resit it? And I bet you most of them would say no. To finish off on, I just wanted to touch on use of the car as well. Now, a lot of people, when they're asking about doing the driving test, these are people that might even know they're not ready. They will sometimes say, can I just have a go at doing the test? I think that'd help me. It's always a no from me, that one. We never just have a go. We're either ready or we're not. There's no grey area with it. If we're ready, we do the test. And if we fail, doesn't matter, we were ready. If we're not ready, we don't do it. People will still dig their heels in and still want to just use the car. And when driving instructors, well, I'm certainly not a car hire service. You can hire dual control cars if you so wish to go and do your test in one. But any driving instructor that has got high standards shouldn't be sending people who are not ready. Our badge is in the window of our cars. It's written down when you do your test. And it's not that we're scared of people failing. It's just we can't keep sending people who are not ready, because eventually we're going to get asked why we're doing this. That's one part of it. The flip side of it is, what if somebody was to fluke passing their test? So let's say somebody's like 80% of the way there, but they're not quite there yet. They're still making some serious faults, could be dangerous on the road. They jump in and have a go of a test. It is a dead easy route, not much traffic, and everything kind of falls into place and they pass their driving test. Firstly, they're going to think that the instructor didn't know what he was talking about, and that's going to give them a false idea of confidence on the road. But secondly, that instructor, if he had sent them for the test, or should be worried that there's a person on the road that he or she knows was not ready for the road just yet. So again, don't be offended if your instructor's not wanting you to use the car. It's certainly not a money thing. It's certainly not for me anyway. I mean, we have probably anywhere up to 12 to 15 people on our waiting list at any one time, so we're not holding people back just to get a few more quid for ourselves. Far from it. On the subject of that, you know, if you did go and try and do your test in your own car, and I'd advised against it, or your instructor had advised against it, but certainly me, I would wish you well. You know, I wouldn't want you to go in there and make a mess of it, you know, and if you pass, then I'm going to wish you well again. I don't want you to hurt yourselves and get into trouble on the roads, but it's much better just to try and buy into the high standards that should be being set by your instructor. And certainly if you're having lessons with myself, my standards are high, and right back to my original point, I don't apologise for that. So keep those points in mind and raise them with me, or raise them with your instructor, and you know, see if they'll talk you through any intricate parts of it. But what I want people just to do is to concentrate on learning to drive and not really think too much about the test just yet. Learn to drive, and if you can drive, you'll then get the chance on your test to show someone, and then you should pass. If you don't pass, it's not because you were not ready. Something might have just caused you a problem on the day, but you are ready to pass that test. Okay guys, see you all soon.